D.R.I.V.E.N, you all. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're so excited. This is our official launch today. So I am so excited. I have some very special guests with us here this evening. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about the power of art. We'll also have a little conversation about voting. We're just going to have some real talk. So whenever you come on to the Driven Show, we're always going to address the power of art and have artists that come in and share what their art is and how they service the community. Then we'll also have a real talk conversation. We'll interview an artist, and at the close of our show, that artist will close out our show with their art piece. But we're super excited to have our guests, so I am going to go through some introductions. But before I do, like I mentioned, this is our official launch. So today, not only are we kicking it off with a podcast here today, but we're also kicking it off with our new website. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see our new website and also get a chance to meet our special guest. This is exciting.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick tour of our website. We're going to go here.
Okay. Wonderful.
And when you come into the website, you will see the following.
Wonderful. Oh, do I know that little lady? Beautiful.
So as you can see, we have evolved. So
Yeah.
Driven LLC is not just, we're serving our community now in a variety of capacities. And one of those includes our podcast this evening, The Power of Art. And this week we have our special guest. On here with us now is Miss Victoria Ray Moore. She is a writer, producer, and a facilitator, exploring identity and challenging the status quo in her season of discovery. Victoria is a very talented young woman. She's a multiracial Black woman native to Charleston, South Carolina, with Black and Indigenous roots, also in Georgia and Alabama. A formal musical theater performer and lifelong personal journal keeper, Victoria studied dance at Charleston County School of the Arts before earning a BA in journalism and mass communication from the University of South Carolina. So please welcome Victoria Ray Moore to the show.
I was not expecting that full bio read.
Not a problem. Also here with us this evening is Elder Carly Town, a producer, playwright, poet, historian, TV host, and narrator. She's the director of the Gullah Geechee Angel Network and the Minister of Information for the Gullah Geechee Nation. Elder Carly Town works hard in communities to retain Gullah Geechee culture and knowledge. And she also works hard using art as a tool for social change. She's currently working on a center called Vienna Charon House. It'll be located in Charleston County, South Carolina, Union Heights. And you can help support her by visiting. I will share some links with you later on. You can send donations to help support this. And you can also learn more information about the Gullah Geechee culture at GullahGeecheeAngelNetwork.com. Also joining us and online right now is Aisha Bowens. She is a Black Charleston native who is a creative advocate and lifelong student. She recently graduated as a valedictorian of Burke High School. Yes!
Beautiful. Yeah.
Here in Charleston, South Carolina. She was currently a student at North Carolina A&T, pursuing a degree in English with a concentration in education to become a high school English teacher, which we need. Her passion in English and education is currently motivating her to serve as an advocate for an equitable education for all, which is phenomenal. So I am so excited to have her here. Thank you so much for joining us, all of you, this evening. Well, we're going to kick it off, and we're going to talk about the power of art, the very premise behind this show. I want to start with you, Elder Carly Town, if you don't mind. I wanted to ask you, what does the power of art mean to you?
Well, it means that people can express themselves and they can express themselves through art. And with that art, they can actually change the perspective of other people who may not think that they have any talents or abilities. But seeing somebody else doing something with art can really encourage, and I have found that it has empowered the community. And I do basically art, Gullah Geechee art. And in that art, we actually have seen people transform because they didn't think that they had anything. But when they, I write plays. And so when they get on stage and I say, I don't want you to speak English, I want you to speak Gullah Geechee. And when they get there and they start talking in their language and they realize that they have forgotten that. And it evokes that spirit of uh, traditional stuff that we used to do, what we used to hear our grandmother say. And with that in mind, it just creates a whole new perspective of who they are. So I've seen art change. So that's why I believe in art for social change. It's really changed a lot of the community. It has gotten Gullah Geechee mainstream, some of it, of course, we did a lot of other works too, but I know by the art, we really did encourage people to speak your language, you know.
Thank you so much. That
Yes,
is very
yes,
important.
yes.
Well, Victoria, I'm going to ask you the same question. What does the power of art mean to you, and what is your artistic ability?
Well, I want to just acknowledge and honor and express gratitude to Elder Carly Town
Thank
because
you.
I think, yeah, the way that you just articulate, the way you said it, that's it. It's art transcends the barriers of communication. It opens up, it creates space between cultures, between generations. It carries messages, it carries stories. Yeah, I think it can do a lot. And so I grew up in the arts in a traditional creative arts education setting. So being introduced to the arts with a capital A: music, dance, writing, theater, performing art, like that. But in this part of my life, while I still, I think, appreciate and value and draw from that awareness, I think I'm understanding art in a much bigger sense today. I think that it has the ability to mean something different to everyone. Someone's art might be cooking, someone's art might be doing nails, someone's
Yeah,
art might be, the way they walk down the street,
yeah,
the way they are in the world.
yeah.
So I'm at again, that season of discovery for me is real. And I want to tap into all of it. I want to be and express all the art that I have been gifted with, and bring it into the world.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
wonderful.
Thank you so much. As beautifully said. And again, thank you so much, Elder Carly Town. As she mentioned, just giving you honor as well.
Thank
Aisha,
you.
can you answer the same question? What does the power of art mean to you?
So the power of art to me, I think it's similar to everybody else's I heard so far. Um, it's the way of expressing oneself, and for me, when I think about art, it's me tapping into me not like worrying about society or what you think of me or the stereotypes of what you think I should be doing, but it's whatever I want to do, and what I feel good about, and how I
True.
express it to others is how I communicate myself. It's the way that I communicate the inner me, kind of, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
like how
yeah.
I view the world. So, yeah. And I think my art right now is I'm a visual person, and with everything, more of a graphic design person, really, but I'm a visual person. So, with everything, I know in my mind, like, I can make that look better. And I'll literally make it for my cousins for their social media. I'm like, hey, Shy, or hey, Kara, I made this on Canva. I shared it with you. Bye, I love you. And that's it. So I think I'm a visual arts person.
Thank
And
you.
thank you again.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it seems like everybody touched on this one concept that art can be viewed in so many different ways. You know, a lot of times when we hear art, most people think of it as someone who just draws or paints, not somebody that writes, that sings, that dances, that walks down the street, that does photography, that does digital work, who does theater. There's so much, the world, and especially in the world that we're living in with all this technology, there's so much art to be explored that's still yet to develop. And I love the fact that each of you touched on how it is pretty much a universal language. That's why it was so important to me to have that as the show, was the power of art. Because especially in the time that we're living in, I feel like yourself, Asia, a lot of people, a lot of our children are also very visual. You know, they have to be hands-on, they have to hear, touch, feel, smell. They got to get a feeling from it and experience things in order to really grasp and retain information, which is important. And a lot of our art and many of our educational systems is being removed from the school system. How do you think, and this is a question I'll start with Ella Carlin, this for each of you can answer, but how do you think that really affects our community when we're removing art from our schools?
Mhm. Well, one of the things that freedom of expression is important. And when they do that, that's exactly what happens, that people are not given the opportunity to express themselves, because with those expressions, they could create all kinds of stuff. So it takes away the creativity. I find that we have been conditioned to think that everything is supposed to be competition, but it's not competition. It should be creativity. And so when they take away those things, they take away the creativity and make it more competitive, and I think that's one of the things that has created a lot of stuff that's going on now. Too much competition.
Absolutely.
Let's create.
Absolutely.
Just create.
Do you have any additional thoughts on that, Victoria?
A lot. I would love to. Yeah, I think I have a few, but I'm going to say, Aisha, if you've got any, we don't have to, you're studying education. You're about to change it up.
Absolutely.
I think it really does suck that they're removing a lot of creative arts in schools. But I went to Burke, but we had, I think, CTE. I think that's what it's called. So we had a graphic designs class. At one point, it was a web design class. There's engineering. There's theater, band, still. But right now, I think I want to talk about how students kind of like finesse the whole system, because with any assignment, when you have your PowerPoints, you know what? I'm going to go the extra mile, and I'm going to make sure that it looks beautiful. And you're going to see my art and how I express. And sometimes that gave me extra points on my assignments. So students are learning to finesse their way into curating their own art, but still having the same like educational requirements still.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, I made sense with that one. But
Yes, absolutely. I love that you mentioned a lot of the trades that have been removed from the schools too as forms of art. Because it seemed like those went first, especially from places like Burke, which is a historically Black school. But all those trades were removed, and then the art seemed to follow after that.
Yes.
And personally, I do believe, and what I've seen, I've witnessed, and I've experienced myself, is that our children learn from art. We are people that we build, we create, we're very creative, very spiritual individuals. And when we don't have that out,
Right.
we create problems. What do you do when you're only focused on studying and doing work and not finding a way to express that? Man, when I go home, I've got 4 other siblings, and mom's at work still, and I'm the oldest, and I still have to go take care of my siblings and be a student and still come home on time, make sure I'm here before the lights go out, and make sure I still get up on time no matter how tired I am.
So what I'm gonna do is I'll just hold on to it, and you can check it out whenever.
It's important that we make sure that we are able to express ourselves. So joining us really quickly before we continue is our artist this week, Michaela Brisbane. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
And for those who do not know, Michaela is not only, she's a multifaceted artist as well. And I'm very excited to have her here on the show. As our guest artist this week, we'll be talking about her later on, her book that she has also recently released this year. And I think it's very enlightening, something that we all should pay attention to. But we'll cut back to that later on, and we'll do a more formal introduction as well.
Okay.
But right now, we're just talking about the power of art, what it means to you. And the last question was, being that they're removing art from the schools, how do you feel that impacts our children or our community? That's where we are.
Okay.
Versus
Well,
having
I feel
worry about
like
all that
with
other
it being
stuff.
removed, that it is an influence and inspiration. I believe, so many of us, we look at art as inspiration within our, everyday lives. So I feel like art is just very, very important for the young people to see, as a way also to be able to express themselves through it. So, yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I think the only thing that I would tack on that hasn't been said is, and it goes back to the power of art to for those cross-cultural dialogues. So if you're using something like the music of a culture, or using theater or poetry to express the stories and the lived experiences of a culture, then you start with the youth in deepening not only their sense of self, of the culture and the richness that they come from, but also in how they're able to understand the other cultures in the room.
Right, exactly. I agree.
That just came through me. I don't know from where.
Yeah.
But
And I'm glad you bring that point up, because what you just mentioned was about that human connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that is missing in a lot of our classrooms, even in our homes, in our community, because once upon a time there was a lot more unity in the community. We're not seeing that. And what's also there is that communication sometimes even without words. Before we had black and white films, or we just had a radio, you had words that way, or you just had a picture. You didn't have a movie, a full film, it was just a picture. And you got to see people acting out and told the entire story without a single word. True. Maybe there was just music to help intensify certain situations, or there was really about the way that the actors really expressed themselves, but people were connected that way.
Right.
We're in one room making this connection, even without uttering a single sound, which I think it's amazing. You mentioned music. That's one of the most universal languages that most people have and share. No matter what culture you're from, we understand music. And I do believe that when that is ripped away from our schools and we're taking that away, we're also starting eliminating that human connection in our classroom.
True.
And we have to be realistic, especially when it comes to our school. Our children spend a predominant amount of their time in the classroom, in the school, and then they come home. The weekends are when they have most of their time with their family, but it's during the week. The majority of their time, they are with their teachers and their peers inside of the school setting. So what does it look like, feel like, sound like when we remove things and ways to express themselves? Behavioral issues start to develop. And we can see a difference, like they like to say back in the day. Back in my day. I have never told me that one day. Back in my day. I said, what is your day? But I got what she was saying. The reality is, in the past, our children were able to articulate themselves differently than they are now. Things are so quick now with everything at our fingertips.
Right.
And to the point where they're not able to really do that free-form thinking. Right. But if they had an outlet to really express themselves or the thoughts that maybe they don't even understand, then maybe they would be more open to communicating with others, their peers, their parents, or whoever. We have to create a safe space for them to express. But when you make someone silent, there's bound to be a reaction. It just depends on what you have cut off from them as to how they respond. And that can be in so many different ways. We're seeing an increase in the last few years with school violence, with school shootings, with suicide rates, even in the last 3 years, when we have 9-year-olds killing themselves. This is an issue, and we have to start getting to the root cause of this issue. And I'm not saying that art is a end all be all, but certainly it points out that there is something constitutionally wrong, institutionally wrong with our system that is set in place at this moment in time. And something has to change.
Great.
Well, did anybody else have any thoughts on any of that?
I think you did well with that. That was really good.
Thank you. Well, I just love having y'all here to share this space. Well, one of the things I did want to talk about was that human connection and our community connection, community work. Elder Carly, you started touching on it earlier when you shared what you do in the Gullah Geechee community. Can you elaborate a little bit more on some specific projects and how you feel that art is used for social change?
Okay. When it comes to community, I think one of the things that has happened is that when we moved away from the community, we didn't do the things that we used to do when I was a young girl, and that was engage in the community. So I believe that we who have so-called made it, we have to go back to the community, Sankofa, and take back some of those and give some of those things that we did have, because we turned out pretty good, from knowing that you have to use what you have and share it with others. And I think we got away from that because you move somewhere else where there are some other people that you don't even get to talk to. But when I realized that, when I went back to my community, which is Union Heights, and I realized how beautiful it was. In 1960 something, I didn't think it was beautiful. I thought it was awful. I thought it was just terrible because I had been told that it was a ghetto. And I used to always write about it because I started writing at a very early age. I used to write about, I can't wait to get out of this place because, it doesn't have anything here. And then after I grew up and became very mature, I realized that we have fruit trees. I had forgotten all that. I had completely forgotten that. So that was part of the story. So I started telling those stories from that perspective about Union Heights and about what Miss Folkman used to do. The old lady used to sit on the porch and teach me all the ancient stuff, about Mr. Sanders and what he used to do. All those things became so important because they were part of the story. And then I, started reflecting back. Not only were they part of the story, but these people spoke Gullah and Geechee. So that brought more spirit back to me. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize we had so much. And that's when I realized that everything we need is within us. So it has to be brought out. And art is a way to bring it out. So with that art, that's how I brought out a lot of things that I thought I didn't want to be bothered with. And I realized the reason was because I had been told something different. But when I sat down and did my own research, when I went within my own self, I realized that, wow, these are beautiful stories and the people is beautiful, And so then I started reconnecting with my community, and I found that they could use what I had learned, what I realized, that you are Gullah Geechee and that you should be proud. I learned that, and so that's kind of the way that I started reconnecting with the community when we started with the Gullah Geechee and telling people, hey, look, you know who you are. You came from kings and queens. And everybody was like, well, yeah, but we don't have it in the school books. So I said, but there are some of us that were chosen to come back and tell you this is who we are. So the community has accepted now more. Not only the community, the world is accepting Gullah Geechee more because of the plays, because of Queen Quet traveling all around the world, because of just the passion that they see within us to keep our culture going. So, it's so much stuff, and right now I'm working on this project, Unitarian House, and it's a project where I want to bring back the culture and teach more people about it, and actually bring the community back and let us all get together and make our communities beautiful again, make it beautiful again, because the beauty is there. But we really have to be the visionaries to see it. So that's what we're in the progress of doing now. It's been a long journey, but I'm still not going to give up. I'm going to keep on, keeping on.
That's right.
Ask everybody that has a community that you left, go back there. Don't let everybody else come and buy those houses and redo it. And then we sit there and say, we ain't got nothing. We got it. Just go back to your grandmama's house and make sure that you fix that house up. Because you know what? It's worth a whole lot. It's going to be worth a whole, even more in the future because you put your spirit and your energy into it. And your grandmama and your ancestor spirit are still there. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. Well, thank you for cracking teeth with us this evening.
I know I could crack my teeth like that too much.
Thank you. And please, anybody can jump in because this is a free flowing conversation for us and share your thoughts. And if we have anyone that would like to comment as well that is watching, we will also respond to those comments as they pop up. So then we're just talking about what is your form of art and how do you use it in the community?
And I wanted to segue into this, the houses that we see, those old houses, that's really art too, because I mean, you won't be able to see those houses if we don't do something with it. You see what I'm saying? And we have to be able to understand that we have the same thing any other culture have, but we just have to appreciate it. Because these little houses, people that live there built the houses. So they have to have some kind of idea about art, architect, because they built those houses. Like those houses, a lot of those houses been there since like the 1900s, like my mom's house. Her dad built her house and it's still there. So
that's amazing. And I'm glad you said it because I think of those houses as time capsules in a sense.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a little girl and we would ride past a place that was abandoned or boarded up or, declared that it was unsuitable to live in, I would always use my imagination as we went by and just learn the story, try to create my own story around what I thought might have happened in that place, what energies are there, what ancestors might have been there. And it's just amazing what you can create in your mind. And then you have people, directors that'll come back to places like this, like the underground, places as well, to share the story that they have come to and bring into fruition. So I do believe that those tiny houses, the home, the spaces, when you go into communities and you see old gas stations and the original price tag still up, little challenge.
Right.
It's like a time capsule in itself.
I think that makes me think. I really appreciate that imagery and that comparison. I think of writing like a time capsule, and so circling that all together, right? When I went to School of the Arts in North Charleston, we could call it grassroots. What they have now is like many dollars more than what we had, which is great. But I said it to say that I was there at this interesting time when the neighborhood that the school was in, it was tiny houses. It was we could call it I don't want to use any word that people carry a negative connotation because they were families, they were people, they lived there. And I saw as a student, on the inside of these like wire gates, no walls, nothing hard, right? Our gate, your gate is open. But I watched them, put notices on the door. I watched them board up the windows. I watched them tear down the house, and I watched this new be built, and always wondered where did all those people go?
Yes.
Where did they go? And and I was too young at the time to know who to ask or how to even process it. But I was old enough that that's a real memory. Tying it all together, I say that sharing stories is a time capsule. Yes. Writing those stories down, documenting, filming those stories, whether you're talking to your own camera or you're like, have the technology to record these conversations. These are time capsules. So that's all.
Yeah, that was good. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings me to the thought of how I met you. I met you through the organization Connected. And originally, before it became Connected 2, I was a part of the project was Connected. And I love the fact that it addressed issues like gentrification through the power of art, where we took actual structures and houses and created a replica to show how the city was building a big sign over someone's house that was over 100 years, and the water and things would run off and ruin the porch. And They just couldn't win for losing, and they were the last house that they needed to sell to get the property. So they were fighting her with strategically with building things to try to push her out. But that push out is real, and even if you are afraid to use your words to express it, there's other outlets. That's where the power of art comes into.
Yes.
I love theater. I'm a performer because I love to be on stage because no matter what, I don't feel like I'm getting judged. I can be anybody, including myself, authentically, right there in front of everybody and share not just my truth, but the truth of others. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important to take note of with art, that we can express ourselves, but it's a great segue as well to share truth.
Yes, I agree. This is so exciting.
So, Michaela, can you tell us what is your power? What is your artistic power, and how do you use it?
Okay, well, the art that I use, I would say really, my poetry is one, and then also just my creativity in terms of making things, creating things. Lately, I've been customizing masks because I know we've been wearing masks a lot, so that's become like our new norm now.
Yes.
And so, so I've been designing masks and also just working on other things, such as making jewelry. So I feel that along with me writing, in terms of my poetry and everything, I believe that those are my powers as far as using my art. The gift that I feel like is important for me to share with everybody else. So yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Yes.
And I love that because a lot of times you hear people saying, I can't or I'm not. And there's a lot of self-defeat. But you have no idea what you're really capable of and you don't try.
That's exactly.
You don't have to be a writer. You don't have to be a singer. You know, you don't have to be the world's greatest painter. I mean, look at Picasso.
Yes.
Okay.
But it was unique in its own way, though.
Exactly.
And it still inspired, you know,
yes.
people.
That's what I love about it, too. It's based on your perception. Because each of us can create a single piece of art. And every one of us is going to do that one piece of art completely different.
Right.
Like there are similarities, the way I receive it is going to be based off of my beliefs and my raising and my experiences versus yours. And it's okay. It's okay to agree.
Exactly.
Agree. But it's a matter of how someone else chose to express themselves and how you receive it.
Yes.
That's what is also so powerful about art, is that we can use it as that tool. We can use it as that creative expression. We can use it for those truths. We can use it to be the voice for the voiceless.
Yes.
We can use it to address issues in our community that people want us to be silent about.
Right.
And we can also use it, as you notice, we're in the middle of an election right now. Oh, goodness. You know, right around the corner, right? But people are creating things to push the importance in 2020 of voting right now.
Yes.
It's necessary. Even just using a simple phrase, I put on my, I haven't been on Facebook in forever, but I put on my background, vote like your life depends on it. And I left it at that because it's for any and everyone to receive it in their own way. Because it can apply to so many different groups, so many different identities, and so many different situations. And right now, I do believe, especially in the literal sense with this pandemic, we need to vote like our life depends on it. If whoever we elect in not the presidency, but on our state level, which directly impacts us, will decide how we really survive going forward.
Exactly. I agree.
I've been and I'm just saying this out loud to anyone who might be watching. I just have been making myself available to anyone who might want to have conversations about the election. There's a resource online where you can print a sample ballot, scvotes.org, and you can go ahead and see all the names that you're going to be met with when you really go in there to cast your vote. And so there is still time. Yes, early voting is happening now, all the way up until the actual Tuesday election day, November 3rd. So there is time if you want to. if you feel good and you trust your friends and you're ready to go in, by all means, go now. And also, if you want to be supported in reading through the ballot, you can email me. I am victoriaray@gmail.com. I will meet you on the phone. I will meet you on a video. I want to offer that time.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you. That is very important.
Thank you so much.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. And also with that, just so people do know that even if you have a ballot, if I were you, I would not put it in the mail right now because we don't know when it may get to us.
Yes.
But those
Exactly.
same places where we're doing early voting, you can also drop off your ballot.
Right.
And confirm that your ballot has been received. Just like when you're voting, they confirm that your vote has been received and it will be counted.
Right.
So just to make sure your voice is counted, it is very, very important to make sure that your ballot gets turned in and you vote. And if you're worried, like I myself, I was terrified. I was like, I'm not going out there all the people. But I looked up and I found you can always go to your local voter registration office. They have their website. Like right here, I think it's SC Votes.
Yes.
You can go on there and there's a lot of organizations like Moms for Land Action is also out there helping. They're pushing out and they're leading the polls and helping people just like Victoria offered her services as well. But you can, if you need help with your ballot, filling it out, if you go to a public place and you're worried about, restrictions, they do have measures put in place for you to be protected. Right. And the earlier you go, the better. I know we don't.
Yes.
Yes.
That's true.
But this is a time for you to rise up. With that being said, I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and go into a conversation. And I'm going to go back here onto our website so that we can talk about this next very important conversation because our power of art ties into this as well. So let's go here. And as I'm pulling it up, I do want to reintroduce our artist of the week. So our guest artist, Michaela Brisbane, has a book that she has published this year called Heart Lessons, a collection of poems. Okay. She's an entrepreneur, an author, educator, and creator from Charleston, South Carolina, graduated with a BS degree in social science from Charleston Southern University and an MS degree in innovation. She got degrees, y'all, okay? She is the owner of the Beauty and Coffee Store as well as the Renee Collection and has published her first book. It's a collection. This is only volume 1, y'all, so there's more to come.
Yes, so be on the lookout.
Check out her website, the Beauty Coffee shop. You can also find her book online at Amazon.com. Heart Lessons, a collection of poems, volume 1. Okay. And so she is joining us this evening as well, which is very exciting. So I'm going to go here to our portion called Real Talk, and I'm going to start it with a poem of my own, and this is called The Expendable. And you can find it as well if you missed some of it on our website under the Power of Art blog, Real Talk. We sacrifice our lives, lose time with our husbands, friends, children, and wives, only to be treated like dirt and told many lies. We equip our nation with knowledge, ready not for war but college, or perhaps the next superstar president, inventor, or vassalage. We rise up and step in from daybreak till day end, only to be cast out and shunned in our hour of need, discarded like the world's greatest sin. And even then, we still armor up and scrub in, sacrificing our lives for this nation's children. Unlike what's said in The Color Purple, even sinners have souls. It's clear educators aren't even worth an ounce of gold. Our nation's leaders wouldn't even pass us on to the lowest bidder. They cast us out hoping the ditch feasts on these critters. We protect, teach, love, inform, and transform, yet we are abandoned by our nation to which we are sworn. Despite our loyalty, we certainly not treated like royalty. Our only present from the president is continued enslavement and poverty. When a child is lost and in need of guidance, or a family is being divided, it is a teacher's love that keeps them top-sided. It is a teacher that fills hearts with hopes and dreams. The teacher we all know will always be on your team. It is a teacher that fuels creativity and passion, and many times shields our children from a lashing. But despite being the first and last one in line, standing at your back, front, and side, despite unlocking and building minds, at our most critical time, the teacher is sacrificed and crucified. Just another example in America when the elite's money has more value than lives.
Beautiful.
So that brings me back into our conversation about why it is so important for us to vote. Because, and how I use my power of poetry to help communicate and speak up for educators. I myself am an educator who was basically forced to resign. The fact is, since March, we have been out of schools. And we were forced to immediately create virtual learning and just readjust immediately because of this pandemic that we just didn't, we're still trying to understand. And we did it, and we pulled through. A lot of people feel like there were a lot of mistakes made, but we had to do this quickly for the sake of our children and our community. And we continue to offer that service, but we also, in August, even though numbers continue to increase, schools are reopened. CCSD is now officially open all of their schools, and starting in October, continue to bring in larger numbers of children. The fact is, since children have returned to school, our case numbers, especially for our children, remember they couldn't get sick, they have drastically increased and continue to increase. The fact is, several CCSD board members said repeatedly in each meeting they had making decisions to return to school that teachers will be protected, our schools will be, there will be many measures put in place to protect our children and our teachers, and teachers are not required to come in to schools if they felt uncomfortable. Well, I can tell you, speaking from experience, that is a lie. And there are people that won't agree with me. That's fine. This is my opinion of my experience. But the fact is, I mentioned that, hey, I have a child that I don't want to risk. And if I have her out of school, why would I go into school? I struggle with asthma, fibromyalgia, and endometriosis. So my body, especially this time of the year, this is my asthma peak season. So even though CCSD is still trying to figure out everything that they're going to put on the list, which they keep adding to every day, as to who's more susceptible to get COVID-19, I'm not taking any chances. CCSD didn't protect me. They gave me 2 weeks pay because the act that was passed said that's all they had to give me. Is that fair? I don't believe so. Because then after that, they say unofficially that you're furloughed, basically. They preserve your job by giving you an opportunity, if approved, to be on unpaid medical leave until you return to school. So because of that, many teachers, that was our bread and butter. We had to go back to school. But I still continued to return the paperwork. I remained in constant communication, even though they tried to say that I didn't and I abandoned my job. I would never abandon my job. I've worked too hard and went inside of the place and invested so much in myself. I couldn't understand why that would even be something that was expressed. But I honestly feel that, like many other teachers, that they string you along to try to force you to give up. Like there's so many other systematic measures that are put in place. They do the same thing when it comes to applying for EBT. Anytime you need to get help, they string you along in the hope that you will quit. Because one way or another, they don't want to pay you. They don't want to pay you unemployment. They don't want to pay you to stay home. But the entire time, I willingly said, I am more than happy to work from home, in the safety of my home, for my protection, my family protection, my community protection, and because I want to reduce numbers by staying in a confined space. But that was ignored, dismissed, and all the people that are making the decision, all the people that decide our fate, are not in school. They are in the privacy of their home. They're protected. Their children are, or they don't have need to be in the school system. So how can you justly say that you're making these decisions for me and they should be accepted? So when it comes to things like that, and it's clear, and a lot of stuff is being exposed with our virtual learning, this school to prison pipeline system that obviously exists, if you don't vote, and we still have these same people making the decisions for us, how can you really say something else? How can you be upset if you don't exercise your right to vote, the right that somebody else sacrificed even their lives for you to have? This is your chance to vote. Your most powerful tool is your voice, and whatever form you choose, vote. Use it. It will strengthen collective voices. And I feel that as an educator, our country has definitely pretty much abandoned us, and we're clearly expendable. That's why I put that in there. That's why I call it the expendable, because we're at the bottom of the totem pole. It's so bad enough that you barely make enough to live. Everything around you is increasing in numbers, but your rate of pay. And that said, as to many people, and not just educators. But it's never going to change if we don't exercise our right to vote. And I call upon, especially those who claim to be the conscious people in our community, don't allow the system to define your actions.
True.
When people say, "Oh, well, I'm not going to vote because they're going to stop. They're not going to count my vote." Da, 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 da. Well, how do you know if you never go to the polls so that your voice can be counted? Right. One thing's for sure: they cannot deny your existence.
Exactly.
I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Wow,
and I think one of those things about the sample ballot and seeing people's names is understanding that those people in those offices, in those conversations, making those decisions are people. And so at some point, get in touch. We are having this conversation right now. We are having an opportunity as community to express our lived experiences. Those lived experiences should be absolutely considered in those conversations that are shaping our future. So, I don't know. I'm not putting that responsibility on any one person. I'm just saying, yes, we have to vote. And we have to educate ourselves and educate other people on who those people are, on how the system works, and for those who for those who do participate, we have responsibility to carry stories, to bring those stories into those different rooms. So I just wanted to extend, yes, vote, and
yes, beautiful.
And I think it's also important for us to understand that a lot of people don't understand the process of voting. I'm still learning a lot. In school they give you a very brief introduction, and then you're left to figure it out on your own. Most people are under the impression that it is the president that you need to focus on. Yes, we need to focus on our president, but the people you have got to pay attention to all the time are those in your local election. South Carolina's been at the bottom of the list for education for over 30 years, 50 years, and it hasn't changed because the same people hold those same seats every election. How do we expect change if we don't make it happen? How do you expect anybody's perspective to be different if it's the same perspective that has been here for years?
Yeah.
What are you expecting? It's the same variable. It's not going to change. One plus one is always going to equal two. I don't care how you flip it, twist it, color it, decorate it, slice it. You've got to change the people in positions of power and take the power into your own hands. So you've got to understand that your local elections are even more important than the presidential election. That don't mean don't vote, okay? We need you to vote for the president, okay? Understand when it comes to decision making too, he can't do everything. He or she can't do it all by themselves. They have to have permission. There is a check and balance system in our government. And I think that's part of it too, is the lack of understanding of what voting, the voting process, and how your voice is actually counted.
I agree.
Were you going to say something else?
No, I was saying I agree what you just said. It's amazing because I met Virginia and her husband at one of my tech up step ups. You came there. And when I saw the two of you, I didn't even know that, he was going to be in office. And then I would be talking to you tonight. But perfect example of when I look at my ballot, I didn't have to do nothing but, I know him and he's doing good work. So when you have that integrity, people will follow you, because I believe that your husband and yourself, you are a true example of the younger people taking things in a direction that we need to go in. So I just wanted to say that because I really feel that in my heart.
Thank you. Aisha was about to say something. Thank you so much, Erica.
I would just like to say when it comes to voting, because I think I might be the youngest in, so I think when it comes to voting, we need to have a conversation on what our values are, because I'm young and I know what my values are. One of my main values are equity or equalities. But when we discuss it in school or in another conversation with younger people like me, they're like, we know what equality is, but we don't know what steps they are. Like, we don't know that to know what equality is, we need to know what inequality is. We need to know what we're facing. So when it comes to poverty, that's a part of an inequality. To make it, try to make it equality, you can do like rent control or something. But we don't understand that because we understand I call it the basis, but we don't know the steps yet. So I think we need to learn more about what it really is to have equality, equity, things like that.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a quick question, Victoria. Can you give me that link again where people can find you for support?
Oh, sure. I mean, if you email me directly, I am victoriaray@gmail.com or tinyispowerful@gmail.com. Any information that I either have or any person I can attempt to connect you with. I want to be a resource in whatever ways I can be. Yeah. So that's
Thank
what I would
you.
say.
And that was IamVictoriaRay@gmail.com.
Yeah, and Ray is RAE.
Thank you. And tinyispowerful.com, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, Aisha, you brought up some really good points, and I think you're speaking to a lot when you talk about, again, back to the process and understanding. Those two words really stuck out to me, understanding and process, because I feel like there's such a big gap.
Yeah.
And because of a lack of understanding, fear is created. So most people will abandon, the post. They won't go to vote because they're unsure. But having people like ourselves speaking up about it, or sharing, or creating a space where information is provided to help with that understanding, I think is something that a lot of people are working really hard to do right now, and is important. It's vital. If you don't understand, what if I'm 60 years old and I can't read? Who's going to help me? Or what if I my glasses, which y'all, I can tell you, if I take them off, I cannot see y'all at all. But what if I cannot see to vote? If you don't voice that and say I need help, then you'll never receive that. But if help is not offered either, then that vote still also will be missed. And that's when I call upon the community to act as such again. Because what if your neighbor is a senior without transportation, or someone who's handicapped that can't get there, or someone who does not know? But if you don't even know your neighbor's name, you don't knock on the door, you don't communicate, you have no idea what resources they don't have or that you do have at your disposal.
I agree.
Important, very important. Okay, were you gonna say something?
Oh no, I was just saying that I totally agree with what everybody is saying because this election is very crucial. It's very important, and the importance of encouraging other people to vote, because you hear some people say, well, I don't want to vote because of they have their reasonings, but at the same time, just encouraging them, let them know, like, listen, in order for us to have the change that we would like to see, we have to make the steps to do it. So it's enough to desire the change, but then if you're not willing to make the necessary steps to get to the change, like, it's not going to happen overnight, but at least you're making the first step, voting being one, to push toward those changes. So yes.
Thank you so much. Well, I loved having this conversation, and I do want to make sure that I also talk about what else we've got going on tonight. So we touched on the power of art, talked about voting and why it's important. We brought some light and voice to the educators, and understanding that if we want our educational system to change, our prison system to change, our poverty lines to change, it is important to exercise your right to vote. Use your voice. Your vote is your voice, and is the voice for your community and those who are unable to use their own. So use that strength and that power, and our collective voices will make the world of a difference. Well, D.R.I.V.E.N LLC also is now opened up an opportunity. I've decided, you know what, I want to share my art, but I don't want to create stuff that is not purpose driven. If y'all haven't noticed, just about everything I do is purpose driven.
Yes.
I created an online store with a brand called D.R.I.V.E.N. And this is something that I'm opening it up where it is a collaborative effort so that I can help support artists as well as local entrepreneurs It's a cost-effective way, and I can tell you about the process. If you reach out to me, visit togetherweshall.com. You can email and contact us and talk about opportunities for you to collaborate and get your products on the store. If you need help designing them, if you need help creating promotional tools, we certainly can do that at your disposal. You can find this store at togetherweshall.com. You can also go and visit our Facebook page. And our Facebook here, we have Beauty is our other space where you can go on and visit to look at our new product line. So one that I am very, very proud of at this time is I'm always giving honor and going back to what I know, and that's my delegation roots. You know, we say the colleague, you know,
I know that's right.
yeah, I gotta remind you.
You got the gal. That's right.
So I wanted to use this opportunity to express some of my artwork and put that on. You know, we love our t-shirts, things that we wear, so we always carry it with us and in different shapes and forms. So I'm going to show you a quick video clip about our D.R.I.V.E.N collection. All right, so that video really just introduces you to the concept of beauty. Thank you. And I'm going to pull up our webpage here so you can go onto our website and check out the different options that we have here for our products. So anytime anyone comes on to the website, what will take place is they will be added to the store and their own brand will also be displayed. So here is our D.R.I.V.E.N collection. One of my favorites is this one here. This is one that gives some light to our sweetgrass basket. Yeah. So what I love about the D.R.I.V.E.N collection is not only showing a bit of my history and who I am, but it's an opportunity to strike a conversation. Right. And that's part of its purpose for me. I think that's very important for us to strike that conversation. Like Victoria has mentioned, Carlton has mentioned, stories are also time capsules and way to preserve things as well.
That's right, exactly. Beautiful.
Something else, and she is still developing ideas, is Seren's Buttons and Things. She wanted to create artwork and shirts that really helped inspire other individuals, especially her peers. At this time, she's 7 years old. So she is currently our youngest on the website.
Yeah.
And her line has Walking in My Purpose t-shirts and hoodies that are being offered right now. She's still creating and developing more. Very exciting about that.
Yes, very nice. Very good.
Thank you. But when you come onto the website, check it out. Visit our home. Again, it's at togetherweshall.com. You can check out our blog. Our blog, the Power of Art blog, talks about what we've done this evening, our guest artist of the week, our special guest this week, our real talk conversation, and also a thought for you. This is the thought that I will share with you momentarily. But before I do, I would love to turn it over to our artist this week to share with us. So, Michaela, I'm going to give you the floor and the opportunity to share a sample of your work and your book for us.
Alrighty, well, I am honored and excited to be a part of this with you all. It's nice to meet you all as well. And like I was telling Anastasia, she and I, we actually met each other through work. I currently work as a primary teacher assistant at James Simmons Elementary School, or James Simmons Montessori. Mm-hmm. And I've always had a passion with working with young people. That's always been something that I've always wanted to do. I would say since I was younger. And so I know she mentioned the things that I'm currently a part of or currently in, meaning with my entrepreneurial businesses, I should say. I'm also an author. My book is on Amazon. It's called Heart Lessons. And I wanted to write it because I've always wanted to be an author. I've always wanted to share my love and my passion for poetry with the world. And there were times I was hesitant to share things because I was wondering, okay, so how is everybody going to receive it? But kind of took a leap of faith. And I said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and share my thoughts and my feelings because I had these poems like written for like 3 years. And so they were on my laptop. And I said, you know what? I just really want to go ahead and just share it and share my heart. And basically, Heart Lessons, a collection of poems, volume 1, is about experience that I've had, relational experience, and also just experiences that people have had in relationships in general. And so my main goal is to encourage other people who have, been through heartbreak and how they can bounce back from that and then still, be able to embrace the love that I believe, God has for them in their life. And as far as my businesses are concerned, I've always, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So I've always had that entrepreneurial mindset. And I just wanted to really do something that that I could start and have on the side. And so with Beauty and Coffee, that was something that was inside of me that I am so proud to have, I guess we could say, birthed and placed out there. Beauty is spelled Beauti, and coffee is spelled Koffee. And the idea for it, I thought about when you usually read poetry or read a book or an article, you usually have a beverage, that you will drink, and normally it's coffee, when you read these things. So that's where the whole idea from Beauty and Coffee comes from. Content that uplifts you and inspires you. And then just coffee, just, something that you would, like I said, normally drink to have as you read these things to help inspire you and motivate you in your life. And then the Renee collection is jewelry that I actually handcraft myself. Just different designs that I thought that, okay, it's something different from what another specific jewelry brand has, but something that is tailored and unique to the customer. So that's where those ideas come from. And like I said, I'm so excited to share with you all about it. Thank you for having me once again. I'm grateful to be the artist of the week. And I'm looking forward to just sharing more with you all and just being a part of this. So thank you once again. And God bless y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to share my screen with everyone. Again, just showing out and giving it out for our guests today. And thank you all so much for coming out.
Okay.
So again, today we had on the show with us today, Aisha Owen. She's here. She's also working at Powerful, and she's working really hard in our community. She is the valedictorian. I'm telling you, that was so beautiful.
Oh,
and I want
nice.
something for all of our youth and our individuals to be proud of in our community.
Oh, beautiful.
Elder Carly Townsend, Gullah-Geechee Angel Network, and our Minister of Information in the Gullah-Geechee Nation, working on the Unitarian Project. You can support her at ctown90@hotmail.com, which is PayPal, to help with the Unitarian House Project, along with supporting the Gullah-Geechee Nation. We have Heart Lessons, is a book from Miss Michaela Hussein. These are her websites, Beauty Coffee Shop, and at Amazon.com you can find Heart Lessons. That's Michaela. Now, our other guest this evening is Victoria Ray Moore, who is more than happy and willing to support you throughout your voting. Please visit her at iamvictoriaray@gmail.com or tinyispowerful.com for that support. I want to close out this show today with leaving you with a final thought. And our thought for you can also, again, be found on the website at the Power is Art section of our blog. I wanted to tell you to vote like your life depends on it because it truly does. Many sacrifice so we may have the right to use the power of our collective voices to make changes. If we do not exercise our right to vote, not only will we let their efforts be in vain, but we will not be able to influence the necessary changes for our nation. We will constantly get the same results with the same variables each time. Be the voice of the voiceless. Embrace and make changes. Speak up for our educators, our children, our communities, our predecessors, and our future. Vote now or accept the consequences as they come. You are powerful. One thing that can never be touched or truly silenced is the power of your voice. And the wonderful Maya Angelou said, you should be angry. You must not be bitter. Bitterness is like cancer. It eats upon the host. It doesn't do anything to the object of its displeasure. So use that anger. You're right. You write it. You paint it. You dance it. You march it. You vote it. You do everything about it. You talk it. Never stop talking.
Beautiful.
And again, I just want to say thank you very much to all of our guests today.
Thank you.
I hope that we have touched and impacted someone's life. Even if you're listening, at least you got in and something will be left and resonate with you. Y'all have a wonderful evening. I'm going to close us out with our video. Check us out. Each Wednesday, we'll have artists that we will interview and have the information up here for you, talking about the power of art and having some real conversation. Peace and love, everyone. Be blessed.
Thank you, everybody. Peace and